The Basement Eyes, Chapter 4. I'm gonna miss you today. You leaving so early? Shirley said as she rushed over to give me a hug and a kiss goodbye at her front door. You know the early bird gets the worm, and I gotta make sure I set a good impression on the new boss. I said back to her, my hand on the front doorknob, my other arm wrapped around her as she embraced me. Well, have a good day, okay? And don't work too hard. She leaned in and planted a small kiss on my lips. She pulled back away from me, and I could see the love she had for me sparkle in her eyes as she looked at me. I didn't know this would be the last time I would see that sparkle. I didn't know that this would be the last time I would hold her in my arms and tell her I loved her. If I could only live in this moment, forever in time. I opened her door and walked out. She stood in the entrance for a minute, and I waved goodbye to her as I got into my truck. She waved back at me, and I started the truck up. It rumbled to life, and exhaust smoke sputtered from the tailpipe. I put it in reverse and backed out of her driveway onto the street. I drove away from her house, happy and content, feeling of bliss, no worry on my mind, at least for the time. I drove back to my house to take a quick shower and change into my work clothes. I didn't have much time to have a good breakfast, so I ate a piece of toast and made some quick instant coffee. I hated instant coffee, but I didn't have much time to brew up some fresh coffee. I had to go to work. I left my house about 30 minutes later, refreshed and ready for the day's work. It took me about another 15 minutes to drive to work. I pulled into the job site and saw Bob standing outside the warehouse waiting. What was he here for? Or was he waiting on me? I did get here early, so what was wrong? He looked a little mad. Or am I just tripping, seeing things? Stop overthinking the situation, I told myself. He's probably just here to check on my work I finished. He's probably here to congratulate me on some work I finished yesterday. I'm damn near finished half the job yesterday. I was working so fast and hard trying to cover all those blasted eyes. Those evil blasted eyes. I pulled my truck next to him and turned off the engine. I wasn't tripping. I could tell he did look upset, agitated. He didn't even wait for me to get out of the truck. He stomped over to me as I opened the door. Sam, I trusted you, Sam. He said, What? What you mean? I asked. I thought you was working yesterday when I hired you, he said. I was working. Did you see the job I did? I know I didn't finish it, but I damn near did most of it. What are you talking about, Sam? He asked, the anger in his voice rising. You did nothing. And if you expect me to pay you for just sitting around all day, you are wrong. I hired you off the word of a friend and thought you was reliable. Wait a minute. You stop right there, I said. I was beginning to get angry. I knew I had worked yesterday painting the wall. What was this man saying? That I didn't do nothing all day? I didn't like accusations like that, especially when I knew they were not true. Accusations like that just makes a person angry. Now, Mr. Pinch, I did work yesterday, and I did start the job you asked me to do. Doing what exactly? What is your definition of working? Because from what I saw, you did nothing. Look, I know you're my new boss, and you hired me for this job, but I don't appreciate your tone of voice or how you talking to me right. I don't give a shit what you don't appreciate. I have a deadline. I need to get this warehouse ready, and you're doing nothing helps me nothing. I'm not going to pay you for any time you did yesterday. That hit a nerve with me. What? What do you mean you're not going to pay me? I worked over 8 hours yesterday. Like I said, doing what? He asked. Painting the damn basement, my job. Look, Sam, I went down there this morning to check on your work. There is nothing done. You're crazy. You must be blind. Don't call me crazy and stop yelling at me. Look, I'm going to give you one more chance. And this thing is already not working out too well. You on thin ice, he said and pointed a finger in my face. He glared at me with his finger pointing in my face. I was furious. I wanted to slap that finger out of my face and deck him one. Deck him one good right in the jaw. I hated being called a liar. If he thinks he can weasel way out of paying me for my work, he got another thing coming. That's it. He's trying to make me seem like I'm crazy and I didn't do any work, so he won't pay me. Yeah, that's it. You fucking bastard. You cheap fucking bastard. And I think I trusted you, I thought. Bob turned and marched away toward his office. I watched him, still furious. He wasn't going to get away with this. I'll make sure of that. He was going to pay me for my work. But a foreign small thought entered into the back of my mind. What was he talking about? I was shaking. I was so mad. But I was curious and afraid. What was he talking about? I did paint and work yesterday. Do I have to question my own sanity, my own mind? I told the voice to shut up. I'll just prove it to myself and go down to the basement. Then when I see my work, I'll go get Bob, make him look at it with me. That way that bastard can't wiggle out of paying me. And if he makes up some lie like he can't see nothing, well, I'll get some other witnesses. I walked to the warehouse entrance door and used the key I was given. The warehouse interior was dark and gloomy. If Bob had been here, like he said, he must have shut off the lights when he walked out. I reached for the light switch and found it. The overhead light slowly cycled through, bringing light to the interior. I walked down the side back wall heading toward the basement, my footsteps making a small echo like it did before. The first time I was in here, it seemed creepy, but this time I wasn't afraid. I was angry. It's funny how that little thing, anger, can wash away any fears you have. I reached the basement door. I opened it and switched on the lights, ready to feel contentment, ready to know I was right. I wasn't crazy, and I know I had worked painting yesterday. The lights were slow to come on, but they eventually did. What? I yelled into the basement. My yell echoed eerily. What the fuck? I saw the wall with the eerie, scary eyes. I saw my equipment placed around the floor next to the wall, but nothing was painted over. The eyes were there, but no paint was done to cover them. My anger turned to fear, then to panic. Was I going crazy? Was I going insane? That's the worst feeling a man can feel when he has to question his own mind. He can no longer trust his own mind. I felt that now. I knew I painted this wall with this fucking eyes. These fucking stupid fucking eyes. I hated them. They looked at me. They were laughing at me. Those fucking stupid eyes can't laugh at you, I told myself. But I could feel them. I could feel them laughing at me. Fuck you, I screamed at them. I raced down the steps and grabbed an open paint bucket. I slung it at the wall and it hit the eyes, splattering paint on them. The laughter ceased. The eyes that seemed alive the second earlier looked like nothing now. Just some painted eyes on the basement wall. I slumped to the floor. The anger had left me, but the fear crept back slowly like a cold hand on my neck. I laughed. I didn't know why I laughed, but I did. My laughter echoed and sounded insane. Pull it together, Sam. Pull it together, I thought. They're going to put you in a crazy house soon if you don't pull it together. You didn't work yesterday, a voice said in my head. You was just checking over the job, making sure you had the right supplies to finish it. Yeah, that was it. You always do that. You have to make sure you have enough supplies to finish a job. You're not going crazy. Denial. Denial always works for a situation the rational mind can't come to terms with. Those fucking eyes. They seemed to hear my thoughts as they looked down at me. Or were they looking at me? They were not looking at me. That's impossible. But they were looking at me. Looking at me slumped on the floor, staring inside of me, staring inside my soul. No. You just stressed out and imagining things. Get it together. Look, okay, maybe Bob was right. I didn't do anything yesterday. That just means I got double work today. No problem. I might just finish the whole job today. Then I will call Bob down here and he can see. That fucking bastard can see. I did my job. I did my fucking job, I shouted at the eyes. They said nothing back. Just stared at me. Stared with their fucking stupid gaze. They will pay for this. I'll erase all of them from existence with my paint. I walked over to the paint buckets and opened one. Time to go to work. Shirley closed the door after Sam drove off in his truck. She was worried about him. She didn't know why, but she was. He seemed different. Troubled. Not the same Sammy she was used to. The one she loved so much. The one that she had made her laugh and feel so happy inside. It seemed like since yesterday something had changed. Ever since he took that job, he seemed distant. Like he was hiding something from her, something buried deep down inside. He will be all right, a voice spoke in her head. He's just stressed out because he got a new job. He'll be okay soon. Just a change. He has to adapt to the change. That was it. Just a change of a new job. Plus he had been stressing for a long time because he had no work, and now he does. That can upset anyone. Give him time. Give him time. He will be back to the old Sam. Old Sam that was fun, that made her laugh. They had made love the night before, and she had faked an orgasm. Of course, he would never know. She would never tell him. She felt kind of guilty about this, but she was too busy being worried about him that night to enjoy sex. What about the painting? She thought. Her thoughts skipped quickly from worrying about Sam to the excitement, almost as if she had forgotten about Sam totally. The painting, man, it was incredible. It's a shame that it's going to be destroyed. All those details that went into those eyes, all that artwork. I wonder if Robert had a look at the picture I sent. Maybe he could tell me more about it. I'm going to have to call him, that's it. I'm going to call him later on today and talk to him about it. She thought about Robert, the guy, her colleague, that she sent the picture to. That thought made her happy. She walked toward the bathroom in the pink robe she had put on earlier when Sam left. She needed a good hot shower. She would feel better when she had washed off the smell of all last night's sex and feel clean and fresh. She came into the bathroom and took off her robe. She was naked underneath. She hung the robe up on a hook on the back of her bathroom door. She reached open up the shower curtain and turned on the water for the shower. She let the water run and looked at herself in the mirror. She still looked pretty good for her age. Her breasts still firm, didn't sag that much, and she still had her curves. She wasn't too fond of her small belly she was developing. You just need to stay away from them carbs, she thought. But I love those sweets, and that was her weakness. She wasn't a big drinker, but she loved sweets. She tried to fight the weight gain by just exercising, but just exercising doesn't work as you get older. You have to monitor your intake every day. No more of those fun days when you was young and you could eat anything and gain no weight. She sat there for a minute and sucked in her stomach, trying to look like her old self before she had gained some belly fat. Then she saw something. Or, did I see something? She thought. The mirror was beginning to steam up from the shower, but she saw it. At the bottom right corner of the mirror. The steam hadn't covered the corner yet, and it was there. A very small eye. It can't be, she thought. Curiosity overrode any fear she had. She reached for a small hand towel and rubbed the mirror where the eye was, clearing any steam away from it. Was it a smudge? It can't be an eye. I'm seeing things. But it was an eye. An eye looking up at her. It looked up at her and then down. She felt ashamed. She was naked. It was looking at her naked body. It was looking down at her vagina. It was getting horny, excited. How? How can an eye be looking at you and getting sexually stimulated? How can an eye even be on your mirror? Did she do some drugs the night before? Was she seeing things? How is this possible? She rubbed the eye again with the towel, hoping in her mind that when she stopped rubbing, the eye would disappear. It was just a smudge. It's not an eye. You can't be seeing an eye in your mirror. That would make you crazy, and you know you're not crazy. Yeah, you have had a little OCD about cleaning and other things, but you're not crazy to where you're seeing things, she thought. But there it was after she stopped rubbing. One ugly eye. One ugly, evil eye. Violating her. Raping her naked body with this vision. She felt hot. Its glare made her hot, so hot. Run, she thought. Run now. The thought was so loud, it almost shattered her mind. The thought entered her mind, but she couldn't move. She was paralyzed. The eye was stripping her of all of her strength. Her body was limp, frozen in one place. Then she felt something. Her arm moved. But she wasn't moving it. Or was she? She saw in horror as her arm moved for a pink razor on the bathroom sink. What am I doing? Stop it! Stop it! She thought. But her arm didn't respond to her. The eye was controlling it now. Her hand grasped the razor and slowly began to bring it up to her neck. A tear rolled down her cheek. As it grew closer to as the razor grew closer to the exposed skin of her neck, the razor touched the skin of her neck. It felt cold. Oh God, please make it stop. Then her hand pushed the razor harder. Blood poured from an open wound. The eyes watched, but it looked entertained, like it was laughing at her. How can I be laughing? But it looked intrigued and excited at the sight of her blood coming from her throat. Please, stop. Just make it quick. If I'm gonna die, make it quick, she thought. As if the eye could hear her thoughts, the razor slowed its push. The pain began to come, slow and terrible. The razor was slow, cutting across her neck, not fast and quick, slow and painful. Blood was everywhere now. Her hand that held the razor was trembling. Her head began to roll back as her jugular vein was sliced. Blood shot out from her throat onto the mirror. The eye was splattered for a second with her blood, but it blinked and cleared its vision. It watched as Shirley breathed her last breath. She made a gargling sound and grasped for air, but could not get any. She felt her body slump to the bathroom floor, now covered in her own blood, and into darkness. It was close to 5 p.m. again, quitting time. I'd done more painting today than the day before, and instead of half the job finished, almost 3/4 of the wall was painted now. I stood back for a minute admiring my work. Wow, maybe that asshole Bob will shut his mouth now. I'll make sure he sees this today so he can know I've been working hard. I wanted to finish the whole job, but I was tired. My arms felt like putty and burned from all the work that they had done. All I could think about was going home and having a nice cold beer, maybe calling Shirley and spend some time with her if I felt up to it. Thinking about Shirley made me feel good inside. Happy. The thought of her kept the bad out. All day I could feel it, something strange as I worked. Something in the back of my mind, a bad feeling down here in the air or something. Those stupid eyes. Almost felt that every time I took my vision of them to get more paint, I could feel them looking at me with their evil glare and their sharp teeth. Well, when I looked back up, ready to paint more, they were not alive or looking at me, just graffiti. I'm cleaning up, I thought. I left the basement out the stairs. I turned the lights off and took my tools. I had one mission on my mind, Bob Pinch. He was going to see the work I had done. I walked outside. The sun was bright. It burned my eyes for a minute. I had to let them adjust. I didn't know why it seemed so dark inside that warehouse. When you came outside, it was like super light. I started to walk toward the office building, but stopped halfway there. I spotted my target. Bob Pinch was standing near the loading docks. He was talking to the forklift operator. Looked like it was the same guy that talked to me yesterday. Was it? Yes, it is, I thought. Almost as if both felt me staring at them. They both stopped talking and looked at my direction. Bob Pinch said something to the driver and he nodded his head. He climbed back on his forklift and drove away. He glanced back at me one time before he turned the corner of the warehouse. That look. I didn't like that look. Don't know why. Bob walked toward me. He had an arrogant smug on his face. I hope you've been working today, he said sarcastically as he walked up to me. I ignored the sarcasm. That's exactly why I came over here to see you, to show you that I've been working. I want you to see firsthand the proof. Well, lead on. And it better be good. He followed me back toward the warehouse. All of a sudden, I felt dizzy, almost faint. Sorry. I saw the warehouse in front of me. It looked alive, like it was breathing. It wasn't a building, it was a creature, an evil creature. But just like that, the feeling passed again. The vertigo was gone and forgotten. I reached the outer door and opened it. Bob followed me behind me. We walked quietly toward the basement, our footsteps echoing. I reached the door first and twisted the doorknob to open. Like I said, this better be good, I heard Bob speak up behind me. I turned back to him and saw movement behind his shoulder. That ugly rat. It was in the corner watching us. I hadn't forgot about it. I just forgot the poison I was supposed to bring. What? Bob asked, turning around to follow my gaze, but the rat had darted into his rat hole before he was able to see it. Nah, nothing. Look, Mr. Pinch, you won't be disappointed. I hope so, he said. I turned back and opened the door to the basement. I couldn't believe it. The strength in my legs left me. I almost fell down the stairs. The wall had no paint on it. Nothing. Impossible. Nothing. I had painted all day. I did my job. I know it. My sanity. I was losing my mind. I couldn't trust my mind. Is this some kind of joke? He asked. Sorry, I just lost my spot for a minute. Is this some kind of joke? What have you been doing down here all day? I don't understand. Then anger rose from Bob's voice. Look, I'm sorry, Sam, but you're fired. I needed a job done, and you're not doing nothing. I heard him, but his voice was distant. Those eyes, those fucking eyes, they were looking at me, laughing at me. I can't believe it. Those eyes. What about the eyes? Look, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Pack your things up here and leave. I have a deadline to have this warehouse ready, and I hired you thinking that you could do the job. Obviously, I was wrong. Hey, wait a minute. Where are you going? You leaving that quick? I pushed by Bob and ran. I couldn't be here no more. I ran toward the exit. Vision of the eyes flashing through my mind caused me panic and fear. I had to run from this place and never come back. I didn't care about my tools. I didn't care about Bob or what he would think. My only instinct was to run. Maybe if I could run far away, I could escape from this horrible dream. I reached my truck and jumped in. I was breathing hard and shaking. I grabbed the keys and started the engine. The truck revved to life. I threw the gear in reverse, backed up as fast as I could, threw the gear into drive, and pulled out of the parking lot, tires spinning. I was going to escape this hell, escape and never turn back. I reached my house 20 minutes later. I was speeding to get there. I didn't care if a cop had chased me. I wouldn't have stopped. I just wanted to get to my house, get inside and close everything off, block out the world and be to myself. I couldn't deal with anything right then. I got out of my truck, still shaking all over it. I could barely hold my keys right to unlock the front door. I was finally able to fit a key in the slot and go in. Safe. I'm safe now. I can relax. I can figure it out. Just calm down and think. Figure out what is going on. I walked toward my bathroom. What is happening to me? What is going on? I reached the bathroom and yanked open the medicine cabinet. All I had was aspirin and some Tums inside. I needed something to calm me down. I opened the aspirin, swallowed 5 of them with some water. I know you're not supposed to take 5, but I didn't care. I scooped the water from my hand in the sink. Oh God, what is going on? I know I had painted. I'm not crazy. You're not crazy, I told myself as I looked in the mirror. But I looked crazy. My own eyes looked haunted and afraid. Looking at them made me think about those other ones. Those eyes on the wall. Those eyes. Make them stop. They are everywhere. I can't escape from their glare, their sick, evil, demonic glare. I tried to close my own eyes, but I could see them looking at me in the darkness of my eyelids. Those alien eyes piercing my soul, burning me inside. I can't stand it. Make them stop, please. I opened my eyes and looked again in the bathroom mirror. They were everywhere on the mirror, blinking and looking at me. Get away from me, I yelled. Leave me alone. What have I done to you? No answer. They never was any answer. They just stared at me with their madness. I made a fist with my hand, slammed it against the mirror, shattering it to pieces. There! Now you're dead! Now you're gone! I screamed. My voice was hysterical, on the brink of madness. I could feel my hands become warm. I know I was hurt. I know I was bleeding, but I couldn't feel the pain. The eyes is all I could think of now. I began to laugh. I didn't know why, but I began to laugh. You can't get me anymore, I yelled and laughed harder. Ha ha! I laughed until my lungs began to hurt, and I could barely breathe, and then I began to cry. Oh my God, I'm losing it. I'm going insane. Oh my God, this can't be happening. Get a hold of yourself, I said. I slumped down to the floor. Glass shards were scattered all around from the broken mirror. I should have never took the job. I should have listened to my feelings, I told myself, in between my sobs. But as if the eyes, those fucking eyes, those eyes that ruined my life, were listening, they almost spoke, or did they speak? A dark voice, a whisper. You're mine now, Sam. There is no escape. No, no. No! I yelled in anguish. I felt something on my arm. It was hot and slimy. I looked down at my arm. No! An eyeball was growing into my flesh. An eyeball was ripping open a hole in my arm, peeking out. It slowly turned its alien vision up toward my face. It burned. Oh God, it burned so bad. I could smell my flesh sizzling. Burning deep, burning to the bone. It hurt so bad. I couldn't stand it. I reached for a large shard of glass on the floor and cut at the eye on my arm. The shard made it bleed. The eye was bleeding now. You die! I hurt you now, I screamed at it. I cut more into the flesh, not knowing I was cutting my own arm, tearing my own skin off. Then another eye began to tunnel its way up. It was on the back of my left hand. My hand sizzled and smoked as the eye grew larger. It burned just as bad as the first eye. I cut at it too. I had to stop them. They wouldn't get me. No. They wouldn't get me. I won't let you. I won't let you. The eye began to bleed as I stuck the shard deep into it. It made a small popping, gushing sound. You died too, I howled at it. But no, there's another one. They were coming up everywhere, on my arms, on my hands, oh my God, on my legs too, everywhere, burning so bad and coming up everywhere. I heard in the distance, or did I hear anything? I couldn't trust my mind now. I couldn't believe anything it said existed in this reality. A loud noise and wood splinter, a door cracking open. My front door was getting kicked in. I must have heard someone knocking earlier. I did, yes I did, or did I? I heard a man yell, almost like a voice of a dream. Police! Then I saw 3 men enter into the bathroom. They grabbed me, made me drop my glass shard I held in my hand. No, I'm gonna need that. I tried to grab it, but they wouldn't let me. They yanked me up and wrestled my hands behind my back. I was screaming and yelling, but I couldn't hear myself. I felt them put handcuffs on my wrists. You can't do it. The eyes, I have to stop them. They're everywhere now, burning on me. Cut them out. Please cut them out. Next chapter. Our next patient is a very violent one with suicidal tendencies. We have to keep him sedated all day long. He suffers from an extreme form of paranoid schizophrenia. He always has to stay in a straitjacket if he's conscious. Apparently, he tries to bite himself and scratch his skin off, claiming that there are eyes all over him. We've tried every kind of medication with no positive results, and electroshock therapy does not help either. All we can do is make his suffering a little less painful with Thorazine. I don't know how he became this way. The police brought him to us, and they informed us that he murdered his girlfriend. It's very sad and a very grim story. Hopefully one day he'll be better. Moving on. Bob meets the new painter at the warehouse. It's not a hard job. Easy, really. Just need you to paint the wall of the basement of the warehouse next door. I'll pay you. Good money for it. The last couple guys, well, let's just say they had problems doing the job. Or working at all. I guess they was lazy, I guess. So you have some good references here, I see. Let's walk over. And you can see what I need done. Did you see that? What? That rat, man. It was a big and nasty rat. It looked at me. Paul. You said your name was Paul, right? I can assure you, we had pest control out here last week. There's no rats in here. Now come down to the basement. Basement Eyes, written 2012, note from the author, David Myers, Austin, Texas. You know, this was a little short story I wrote. My novel's on Amazon, Lost in Nowhere. I'm still working on a compilation of a lot of different short stories. This was just one of them. You know, I mean, it was pretty high end, like a nail biter through the whole thing. And I could tell, like, you know, from me reading it, that I'm all about climax through the whole damn story, keeping it right at the top of the excitement line, you know. So that's where I need to tone some of my writing. I can tell, like, you know, you can't have everything at level 10 through a whole story, which is what I like, because it keeps you just reading the story, and go through it real fast. But you got to have a kind of like a build up, start at level 1 for so many pages and build up to level 10. So, you know, but looking back at this, is a good little story about eyes and basements and some pretty scary stuff. So if you enjoyed it, I hope you did. If you want to buy the novel, Amazon, click in Mr. David Myers as a search. Lost in Nowhere, Years to Revenge, 2 novels up there. One's $4.99, one's $7.99. Mr. David Myers, my novel's Lost in Nowhere on Amazon, and also Years to Revenge. It's like a screenplay. If you want to read, it's kind of like gangster. It's not as any horror. It's more like a gangster mafia kind of screenplay. So check me out, man, and appreciate it if you listen to all this. All right, bye.